What are your thoughts on JJ Redick?
I was just going to say, I'm happy for him. We got to know him a little bit while he played here. He was a guest of the podcast. He's I think really smart basketball guy. I'm not a huge fan of hiring former players with no coaching experience to lead your team that has championship aspirations. I think that is, and that's not saying anything negative against JJ. It's just that is a real tough spot to put him in. But clearly, he wants to be around the game. He wants to be more than just a podcaster and a media member. So I'm happy that he gets a chance, like I said, to be around the game. I'm just not sure that's a good spot for someone with no coaching experience. But
I would have preferred, as someone, like you said, being around. I, like JJ, love the podcast, enjoyed him on television, not so much as the broadcaster, as the lead broadcast with this team. I do like Doris Burke. I do like Mike Breen. But it was just a little off for me. I liked him more in the secondary team that he was with. But as far as the guy goes and being a coach, I wondered when, even the Detroit situation, which is bad, it wasn't right for Monty Williams, as we talked about yesterday, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't have been right for a first-time guy coming in with a team that has basically building from the ground up. And if you're going to go and take a job, I thought that might be a little more intriguing, especially when there was a report out there that Detroit might have some interest in JJ Redick.
Yeah.
And maybe that was more of just pushing it along, forcing LA's hand to, in fact, hire him. But this is going to be a tough job for him day one right away. So his assistants, Kyle, that he's going to have to put on this team are going to be really, really important. And I'm sure you've heard stuff. Derek's heard things. I've heard some really interesting names as far as the assistants go. So I'm very curious to see where this goes for him.
First of all, I want to shout out, this is no shade at Woj, who I love and adore. Guy I know, Lakers podcaster, writer, Anthony Irwin, has been all over this and said that this was a done deal, I believe, a day or two ago. So I want to make sure, as someone who, obviously, now that it's finalized, Woj is getting the final nail. Just wanted to shout out Anthony, who's been all over this story. So gotta look out for the little guys from time to time. On the subject of JJ, I'll echo all the things that have been said here. Sharp guy, knows the game. We spent a lot of time around him. What you see on the podcast is stuff that, if you get him not in big media scrums and you want to talk to him about the game, he would open up even more than he did in front of the general group of reporters. We had good rapport with him, got to know him, understand him. I think he'll end up being a good and intense leader. Obviously, I think it's really important the type of hires they make around him, because it also can cut both ways, right? You want to have established, known quantities on the bench, guys who can help him with navigating that transition to becoming a head coach. But you can also create a dynamic from time to time if you get guys that are at the top end of that spectrum, that it almost undermines your credibility and your authority as a first-time head coach. They start looking to the other guy. I think that that happened with Steve Nash when he was the head coach in Brooklyn.
A little bit in Milwaukee too.
Yeah, and so that's something that I think he's going to have to watch out for. I'll be honest. I think this is a shit job to take as your first head coaching job. Now, look. You get the opportunity to coach the Lakers, and it's LeBron, it's presumably LeBron, and Anthony Davis. I think it's worth taking it. I understand why he wants to do it. He's a super competitive guy, wants to take on that challenge, but it could go very wrong very quickly. And
who's going to get the blame? Him.
Right. Look, we know what it is when you sign up to coach a LeBron James team. And that's just base level. Yeah. You're coming from doing a podcast with the guy. If things go wrong, all the fingers are pointing in your direction, buddy. So I wish JJ the best of luck, and we'll see how it turns out.
We all silly like the mayor.